Hi, I'm Mark, and you're watching the Android Authority channel. The Galaxy S4 and the HTC One deliver eye-popping displays, primarily because of the clarity, sharpness, and vividness of their full high-definition screens. Both may be high-end devices, but they are not on equal footing, especially in display quality and performance. In what ways are they alike? In what ways do they differ? I'll talk about that and more in this video. Let's begin by comparing the display specs of both phones. Both phones have the same full HD display resolution of 1920 by 1080, but the HTC One crams more pixels into every inch, about 469 pixels actually, by virtue of its smaller screen diagonal, which is 3/10 of an inch shorter than the S4's. The two also use different protective glass types for the screen. But one of the most pronounced differences between the two is the display technology. The Galaxy S4 uses the pentile RGBG matrix with diamond pixels, which reportedly causes the greenish or bluish-green tint on the display. The HTC One, on the other hand, uses an RGB matrix which is brighter and produces more realistic colors than the pentile RGBG matrix. To compare the brightness and visibility of the two phones, we compared the two screens both indoors and outdoors. First, we brought the phones to the dimmest part of the house and displayed a color chart on both screens at 50% brightness. The Galaxy S4's colors appeared brighter, even the darker shades of each color are still clearly visible. On the HTC One, the colors appear darker or richer, less saturated, and more natural, but the darker shades have disappeared. Next, we brought the phones outside and placed them under direct sunlight. Viewing a web page on the screen at nearly perpendicular angle, we found that the HTC One delivers a brighter and more visible display. Then, we tilted the phones backwards to about 45 degrees. Some sunlight reflected on the screens and greatly reduced the visibility on the Galaxy S4. However, the display on the HTC One stayed somewhat visible. At the same 45-degree angle, but without any reflection and with brightness set to maximum, both phones had visible displays, with the Galaxy S4 slightly having an edge chiefly because of its saturated colors. We also tested the phones under a shade outdoors, which means there was enough bright lighting but not directly hitting the phones. With the phones at maximum brightness, the Galaxy S4 showed richer color and more marked contrast, but the HTC One delivered a brighter display. The HTC One screen seemed to have dimmed a bit when we tilted the phones backwards to about 45 degrees. The S4 screen stayed visible and clear. Still under outdoor shade but set to auto brightness, the HTC One showed better whites. The Galaxy S4 screen was a bit dim because of the bluish tint, although its blacks were more solid and text was thicker. Text and images were still clear on both phones though. Thus far, we've seen that the S4 has a wider viewing angle, and the display stays visible even under direct sunlight for as long as you keep it away from reflection. The HTC One screen, meanwhile, doesn't reflect too much light, and therefore tends to stay visible even under bright light. It also shows whiter and brighter whites compared to the greenish-bluish white on the S4. But the S4 shows richer contrast and deeper blacks. We also wanted to explore how the two phones differed in color, sharpness, and resolution, so we compared the two screens displaying the same high-definition photo. In an indoor studio setting with the screen set to 50% brightness, the HTC One seemed to render realistic and vibrant colors. The Galaxy S4 image showed saturated colors. Viewing the same image under a microscope, we saw that the S4 screen had more green-blue pixels, which somehow brightened up the lighter areas. The pixels on the S4 also appear bigger. On the HTC One, white areas have no blue or green pixels and appear realistically white. Colors are deep, rich, and vivid. Also, the pixels are smaller, so they tend to be more dense, resulting in a sharper and refined image. We also wanted to see which phone displays text better. Undoubtedly, text is crisp and sharp on both displays. At maximum brightness on the S4 though, black letters look thicker and bigger, and the white background seems a bit bluish. The same letters look narrower or thinner and smaller on the HTC One at maximum brightness. The white background looks more realistically white and is much brighter than the white on the S4. Scrutinizing the text more closely, we found red and green highlights around each letter on the S4, creating some sort of fuzziness around the text edges. The HTC One, on the other hand, simply has crunchy text and solid lines with minimal outlining. As high-end flagship Android phones, the Galaxy S4 and the HTC One are expected to bring not just the best of processing performance and power, but also the best in screen and display prowess. In this video, we've seen that although the two phones differ in their displays, both phones do render visually pleasant and amazing images on their respective screens. At the end of the day, what will most likely sway you will not be what technical experts say, but what your very own eyes tell you when they see the awesome display on either phone. Have you seen the displays on these phones with your own eyes? Which phone has the better display for you? Share your experience with us. For more Android guides, news, and reviews, visit AndroidAuthority.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Mark. Thank you for watching. Until next time, and remember, the power of Android is yours.